Okay, welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We're starting off with a executive session. So you can't be in the room with us?
I'll make a motion. What's the purpose of the executive session?
I have to read this? With glasses would be helpful. The board will be entering into executive session under Section 30A to 21A3 to discuss strategy with respect to litigation in the matter of 0 Melrose Ave, Falmouth, where discussion in open section would have a detrimental impact on the town's litigation position.
I'll make a motion. We move into executive session to discuss with town council the case of 0 Melrose Avenue and return to open session at the conclusion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call. Finneran?
Aye. Peterson, aye.
Duffy, aye.
Murphy, aye.
Forsythe.
Petrucci, aye.
Take it away. All right, we're back. All right, welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Please silence all cell phones and note that this meeting is being taped by FCTV. If there's any private party recording this hearing, please step up to the podium to request permission. I'll introduce the board and staff. To my far right is Mark Finneran, a voting member. Then Scott Peterson, a voting member. To my right is Frank Duffy, the clerk. My name's Suzanne Murphy, chair. To my left is James Morse, vice chair. Tony Petrucci, to his left, associate. And Nick Haney, another associate. And then we have Noreen Stockman, a zoning administrator, and Ashley DeMello, office assistant. The Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with applying the state zoning statutes as well as the town's zoning bylaws and reviewing and voting on every application. All decisions are made through the public hearing process. Our goal is to hear testimony from the applicants and the public and to allow a full and fair discussion of the project prior to closing the hearing process and reaching a decision. Number one, to begin each hearing, the clerk will read the public announcement for the hearing and read pertinent information from the file. 2, the applicant or the applicant's representative will then have 15 minutes to make a presentation. Time may be extended by a vote of the board. 3, the board will then question the applicant. And 4, the public will be invited to comment. Comment should be limited to 2 minutes and be strictly related to the proposal. All members of the public wishing to speak should wait to be recognized by the chair, should come to the podium. Please state your name and your address for the record, and please speak into the microphone. Will not amplify your voice and record audio for FCTV viewers. And we also have a minute before we start the hearings if anyone wants to make a public comment about anything that's not on our agenda. Anybody for public comment? All right, we have 2 hearings tonight. One is a continuation, and one is already closed, so there'll be no further discussion on it, and there'll be a vote. And so we'll start off, let's do some minutes first. Let's vote on our minutes, if everyone doesn't mind me pulling that out. We're going to vote, I would like a motion for January 9th, January 16th, and February 6th. Anybody want to give me a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes from January 9th, February 16th, and
February 6th.
February 6th. All 3.
On a second,
Second.
We have a vote and a second, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so then we'll go to Deacon, 26 Deacon. Attorney Clower.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Kevin Clower, attorney here in town. I'm before you representing Bob Parker, the owner of 26 Deacons Avenue. This matter was opened on February 13th.
Hold on, one sec.
We only have 4 members on the board. Are you going to appoint?
It's a 4-man board again, that's correct. Do you want to appoint Scott?
You didn't give any testimony the last time.
I think we did open the hearing.
We did
You
open.
opened it, but you didn't, no testimony was given.
So we'll appoint Scott to be the 5th member.
Okay.
All right.
Okay?
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you, Frank.
So this was opened on February 13th. It was continued effectively to restake the property. But I want to give a review of the project, discuss what we're proposing, and see if we can address any questions the board may have. So Mr. Parker is seeking permission to raise and rebuild the existing non-conforming dwelling at 26 Deacons Avenue, which is located right on the harbor. It's on a lot of 3,000 square feet. It's the residential C zoning district, and it is in the AE 13 flood zone. Presently, there is a 3-bedroom single-family dwelling and shed on a footprint of 1,090 square feet. It's non-conforming in almost every way that a property can be non-conforming. The front yard setback actually encroaches into the road layout by 4 feet. The side yard setback to the north is 3.4 feet. To the south is 1.8 feet, where 10 are required. The rear yard setback to the shed is 1.9 feet, where 3 feet is required. The lot coverage by structure is 36.3%, where 20 is allowed by right, and up to 25 by special permit. And it is shockingly actually conforming to lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking. The existing structure is in poor condition, both physically and aesthetically. The waste is currently handled by a cesspool of indeterminate age. Though old, it is not a historically significant structure, not in a historical district, and not subject to review by the Historical Commission. Given the existing condition of this property, it's not possible to rehabilitate the existing structure without triggering the requirements of substantial improvement under the FEMA guidelines. So the applicant's proposing to raise the existing dwelling to rebuild a new 3-bedroom home with the installation of a new 3-bedroom denitrification system, which has already been approved by the Board of Health. This will result in the first floor being elevated in compliance with the flood zone standards, which is approximately 8 feet above grade. This allows for use of that space as a garage, decreasing decluttering on site. There's a decrease in the footprint of the structure of just over 100 square feet, which reduces the lot coverage by structure from 36.3% down to 32.8%. Front yard setback is improved from an existing encroachment of 4 feet. There's an ornamental pergola that'll be at the property line, and the actual dwelling itself is 3.5 feet off the property line. The side yard setbacks are both improved. To the north, it goes from 2.4 feet to 8 feet. To the south, it goes from 1.8 feet to 6 feet. The rear yard's non-conforming setback is eliminated as well, which goes from 1.9 feet to 29 feet. Lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking will remain conforming at 38%. And the structure does increase in height from approximately 15 feet to 31 feet, 8.5 inches, due in large part to the compliance with the flood zone standards. The number of bedrooms remains the same. There is a new denitrification system, which has been, as I noted, approved by the Board of Health, and this has been approved by the Conservation Commission. This project requires a special permit under 240-10.2A. Under that section, pre-existing non-conforming structures may be changed by special permit, provided they're not substantially more detrimental than what exists. The Board is asked to consider the standards of 240-12.1E and whether or not the alteration creates any new dimensional nonconformities, impairs views and vistas, and reasonably conforms to the neighborhood. In this case, there's no new nonconformity created. Then a number of the existing nonconformities are improved, including lot coverage by structure, the front yard setback, with significant improvements to the side yard setback to both north and south, and the elimination of a nonconforming rear yard setback. There's no effect on views and vistas of the public. The view is really to the harbor. And this is consistent with the neighborhood, which we'll describe. Though not requesting a special permit under 240-11.3A4, as we're remaining over 25%, I think it's still important to review those standards, as many of those requirements overlap with 240-10.2A. So under that section, the board would be asked to consider the size and height of the structure in relation to the neighborhood, the effects of shadow, impacts on views and vistas from public ways, and the effect of nitrogen on coastal abatements. In this case, there's no impact to the views and vistas from public ways. Though the building is larger, it is an area with many similarly sized buildings, and there's improvements to the nitrogen on coastal abatements. There's a new denitrification system, which is designed for the same number of bedrooms as present and replaces the existing cesspool. As to the size and fit with the neighborhood, we did submit a lot comparison worksheet that looked at 25 properties within a 300-foot radius. As proposed, this is below the average footprint, and it's certainly not out of character with the average gross floor area. Of those 25 homes, 18 have larger footprints and 7 have larger gross floor areas. It's certainly appropriate and in line with those nearby properties. This project represents a significant improvement over the existing conditions, replaces an aged cesspool and a house in significant disrepair, It will not create any new dimensional nonconformities, improves existing nonconformities, and there's nothing about this proposal that is substantially more detrimental than what exists. I believe this meets all the requirements of 240-10.2A and 240-12.1E, and for those reasons, I would ask that you grant the special permit, but I would, of course, be happy to address any questions that the board may have at this time.
Want to start off, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, my original objection was it wasn't staked. I mean, you have improved. I don't think we have the latitude to demand it, but I honestly think that this thing could have been moved a little bit further away from the road with, you know, the 29 feet in the backyard. But as I say, I mean, I'd like to demand it, but I don't think I have the ability.
So we'd actually be glad to discuss that, Mr. Finner, because Mike Borselli's here, the engineer on the project. He and I discussed that, and he can speak to as why we can't do that. So, Mike, would you want to just? Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, Chairperson Murphy, and members of the commission. For the record, Mike Borselli. I represent the applicant. If you look closely at the plan, which I'll zoom in for you.
I'll be that way.
Very close.
It's true that the rear of the proposed building is set back 29 feet from the property line. The existing building, which is shown on here in red, was closer to the property line. One of the problems we have with trying to shift the building back is we've basically taken up the whole backyard with the new septic system. The new septic system is actually built within surrounded by a low-profile landscape wall that's about 2.5 feet tall, and that's necessary because we need to gain the proper separation from the groundwater table. So two of the components of the septic system include the primary septic tank and then the denitrification tank. They are 3 feet from the back of the building. The wall that surrounds this system to allow it to be elevated is only a foot from the denitrifying tank. So, I mean, technically, we could shift this back maybe 6 inches to a foot if you wanted us to, but there's nowhere we can't move the septic system further to the rear because of the fact that it can't be too close to this landscape wall. So we really don't have anywhere to go with the building other than a real de minimis shift back. If you'd like us to shift it back, we could probably shift it back 6 to 12 inches.
Is there a minimum distance between the foundation and the tank?
Well, the minimum's 10 feet, and we've already been to the Board of Health and sought a variance to be less than 10 feet from the tank to the building. So I'd probably have to go back to the Board of Health for that, to reduce that from 3 foot.
There are both solid tanks.
Yeah.
So
And I think it would be.
And I understand, I mean, we're almost fitting around pegging a square hole here, or whatever you want to, you know, but it's just, you know, the front yard is so noticeably close, and I mean, you know, we got a 3,000-foot lot here. I mean, this is probably the smallest lot we've dealt with to my
There's
memory.
two others in this list. I equate it to that game you had when you were a kid, where it was like a square with the eight panels that you move around and try to make a picture. You have to shift them, and that's what we're doing here.
Okay,
I
Van
used to
White.
break it open and pull the pieces out and put it back the way I wanted.
Rubik's Cube, is that what you're
Not
talking
Rubik's Cube, it was like, it was.
Yeah, the flat one.
You try to make
Yeah.
a picture out of the
Yeah.
8 panels, and you can only move one.
One space empty, yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah, I did nothing I can.
Oh, thank you, Sally. That was a good overview of why it's difficult to move it. So I'm very appreciative of getting a cesspool out of this project and moving it to a D-night. So that was good news. Obviously, the project's a little bit smaller. Setbacks got a little bit better. Could you just clarify the ridge height? That's just the way. Is it 31, 8.5?
The number I have
It's a little
is,
hard to see on the plan.
yeah, the number I have was, bear with me, 31, 8.5, but let's just take a look at the architectural plans to confirm.
Yeah, I agree. It was just on one of the dash lines, made it a little difficult, but
Yeah, it's
it's to be a nice
31, 8.5.
nice elevation, so, nice upgrade, so I have no further questions, thank you.
Frank, you have any questions?
Well, just my curiosity, but how are you going to get in the backyard if you have to make repairs to the septic system? You've got about a foot on either side of the building.
Well, we'll have, there'll be 8 feet on the north side, and there's 6 feet on the south side. You know, if we had to work something out with the church, which is next to us, there is a pretty decent amount of space between the church and their property line.
That's it.
We'll have it blessed.
I'm sorry.
You're all set?
Ask my question.
You have any questions?
No, it's a very nice-looking project architecturally. I think that the D-Night system, with the testimony from Mr. Porcelli, it satisfies similar to the Mr. Finneran had about the location of buildings, but I think that you've exhausted your remedies and what you can do, so I have no other questions.
Tony?
I think it checks all the boxes. It's a wonderful change, fits well, has a denitrification system, which is outstanding. I have the same question as Mr. Duffy, but that's something that you folks have to work out, I guess, to make something happen. But I think it's an outstanding project.
Nick? You all set? Any further questions before I go to the
One
public?
question I have is, you know, we did talk about that pergola in the front, and now the pergola does go up to the street lot line.
So we've approved, in situations where we've had encroachments and improving it to 0, that has been approved in the past. Similar to how we allow height over certain, over 35 for certain ornamental features, this is purely just an ornamental feature. The setback to the house is 35, and we'd be happy to condition it that the setback for any future purpose would be 3.5 feet.
I guess the other part of the problem is if that street was ever widened in the future,
Well, we've got about,
the street could go up to the,
yeah, I mean,
Should be in the living room.
I mean, we have about 10, 12 feet before the street layout, which is typical in that area.
It's also one way.
But I think that struggle getting approval from conservation to widen that street much.
That ain't gonna happen.
Would they need to get a license?
No, because it's not on
Because it's, just because it comes right up to it? It's okay.
other 5 inches than they would.
Okay. Any other questions up here before we go to the public? Anybody from the public want to comment on this project? No. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve with conditions.
I think don't we need to close first?
Yes. Let's make that. Motion to close.
Oh, sorry, motion to close. Sorry, getting ahead of myself.
I'll second that.
Like to get out when it's still
Any
daylight.
discussion before we close?
Very thrown off by this.
Me too.
Any discussion before we close? Everybody's good? All those in favor of closing? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Motion to approve with conditions.
There you go.
There you go, I'll second that, get
There you
it right
go.
the second time.
All right, let's set up the findings, Frank.
Okay, the findings, the property is 26 Deacons Avenue in Falmouth. It's an RC zoning district. They've applied for a special permit under section 240-10.2A, 240-11.3A4 to raise and rebuild the existing non-conforming structure. It's a single-family dwelling. Currently, it's a 3-bedroom with a footprint of 1,090 square feet. The proposal is for a 3-bedroom with a footprint of 984 square feet. The property's in the Falmouth Inner Harbor Overlay District, and the flood zone is AE 13. There are no previous zoning board of appeals decisions of record. The lot is 3,000 square feet in a zoning district which currently has a minimum of 40,000 square feet. Street frontage is 50 feet in a zoning district which currently requires 100 feet. Deacons Avenue is a public right-of-way at this point. The current lot coverage by structure is 36.3%. The proposal is reduced to 32.8%. The limit in this district is 20%. 25% by special permit, so we'll need a special permit or something to accommodate the nonconformity. It's the existing nonconformity anyway. Lot coverage by structure, parking, and paving is 37.1%. It will be increased slightly to 38%. The limit is 40, so it's within that, the criteria of the bylaw. The project is represented by Attorney Clower is non-conforming in all dimensions. The new dwelling will be non-conforming in 3 of the dimensions, but the backyard will now be 29 feet, which is conforming. The proposed height of the building is 31 feet, 8 1/2 inches. We do have, engineering has cited that a driveway permit will be necessary. They also point out that the fence is in the right-of-way for Deacon's Avenue, and a license will be necessary to, if it's to continue, but the note, I think, from engineering is that it may not be, the license may not be approved. The Board of Health requires a D-Night system, and the applicant has informed us that they intend to install a D-Night system. The Conservation Commission has issued an order of conditions on February 6, 2025 for the project. Water Department requires an upgrade of a 1-inch service with a meter to the inside. We have no comments from fire, we have no comments from planning, and we have no comments from historic. Now, for findings, under section 240-10.2A, which is a special permit for a non-conforming structure, the board determines that the proposed structure is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. The special permit under section 240-11.3A4 to exceed lot coverage by structure, we make a determination that the size and height of the proposed structure relative to the neighborhood average is appropriate. The neighborhood average, according to the worksheet, is 24.41%. There's no effect on shadows on neighboring properties. There's no effect on views and vistas from public ways. And the D-Night system takes care of the coastal nitrogen in the coastal embayment. As for section 240-12.1E, special permit general criteria, the board makes a finding that the site is adequate for the proposed structure. The site is suitable for the proposed structure. There's no negative impact on traffic flows and safety. There's no impact on neighborhood visual characters, views, and vistas. There's adequate sewage disposal with the D-Night system. The site is conserved by adequate utilities, and there will be no effect or adverse effect on the supply of affordable housing.
Yay.
May I add to there, Madam Chairman? I'm not voting, but one, no opposition offered at the hearing.
Right.
Project will bring the property in compliance with FEMA flood zone regulations.
So we vote next. And we have a motion.
Condition?
Yeah, oh, conditions. Yes, conditions. Work hours per plans. Driveway permit. We'll definitely need as-bills for this, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
I
yeah.
would recommend, that there be certification, certainly once
Yeah.
the pergola's up, to make sure that they have not exceeded that northerly lot line prior to a CO.
Yeah.
Not the foundation?
I think both,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
close.
Yeah,
think
so
so.
the foundation will tell you your setbacks to your lot lines, but that's not going to tell you where, if the pergola is still on the lot when it's finished, so you really need both.
I think we should do both, yeah. Don't you?
You have to do
Yeah.
both.
Any other conditions you can think of? What set, there was 2 different sets of Concom plans. Did I, 2 different dates? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought I saw 2 different plans in there.
There's an existing and proposed.
Okay, maybe that's what it was, okay. All right, any other conditions you can think of?
Somehow they've got to manage construction vehicles, it's very tight. I'm not sure how you want to condition that.
I would suggest just working with the police department to make sure that.
Yeah. Anybody think of anything else? So it's tight, so it's hard to think of.
No
what-
additional structures.
Yeah.
Licensing of the fence.
Yeah, did I say that? No.
Probably
But
gonna
I
come
thought
out.
you said, I thought he had said fence was up.
That fence is probably going to come out, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to put just that, if it was to remain, it would need to be licensed.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not going to last long.
Just the portion that's existing in the
Yeah.
layout, right?
It was falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they just can't pull it all the way forward like it was.
I think that's all I can think of.
All town referrals.
Yeah, all town boards. Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Can't think of anything else.
Noreen, anything else? Or- No? Okay.
All right, so we had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Great,
Well, very much.
thanks.
Appreciate your time.
All right, now we move on to 85 Brick Kiln. And we have a new decision in front of us tonight. Everyone has their new copy. Do we just start off? I already can't remember. It's been a while. Okay, this hearing was closed. Wow. Yeah. Look at that. Full paper. Has everybody had chance to read this? Everybody's all set?
Yeah, I read the first one that Noreen sent out 4 or 5 days ago.
I actually didn't.
And there's a new one tonight, though.
Yeah, it's the same, but it's with some
Few
suggestions.
corrections. And Tony is voting on this one tonight.
I actually didn't get a chance to read it, to be honest with you. We're going to read through it.
Well, Jim's going to read it, and if you see something, we'll put holds on it like we do town meeting. Is that okay with you, or do you want to?
No, that's good. No, I
read
just
through
have
it
an
now?
issue that I
Okay.
brought up before, and I don't know whether it was dealt with here or not, or if we're going to deal with it. But if it's,
All right,
we
so I
read
think
through
we
it,
can-
we're good.
I do have a couple of minor modifications,
Go
but
for
I
it.
think we can deal with them when we get there.
Okay.
Okay. So Jim can start, we're good?
Case number 05824, applicant 85 Brick Kiln Road, LLC, 150 Timothy Bourne Cartway, East Falmouth, Massachusetts. The applicant, property owner is Michael C. No, 7 Washington Street, East Walpole, Massachusetts. At date of application, the applicant became the owner as of the date of the deed recorded on July 12, 2024. Subject property is 85 Brick Kiln Road, East Falmouth, Massachusetts. Assessors map 34, section 07, parcel 007, lot 000. Certificate book 36270, page 133. If it's okay with you, Madam Chairman, we could just ask if everyone review the procedural history, and if there's any changes, we can make them.
Any changes to procedural, Noreen, or you all set with procedural?
Yeah.
Same thing with letters, emails, information from the applicant or representatives.
Everybody all set with letters?
Yep.
Letters, referrals, emails from town departments.
Everybody all set?
Yep.
Plans?
Letters, emails from abutters or interested parties.
Oh, yeah.
All set?
Plans submitted by the applicant or applicant's representative.
I have one addition there, and it may be just that I missed it, but I wanted to just add in the color rendering that was submitted for the studio unit. We had a received stamp date 10/3/24, so if it's not referenced, I would add that in.
Okay.
Okay, great.
The notice of hearing and referrals are read into the record. The minutes of the hearing are available at the town clerk's office and are part of the record. Findings. 1, according to the last published subsidized housing inventory, issued by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Conditions, EOHLC, dated January 1, 2024. Prior to the submission of this application, the town of Falmouth had 8.13% affordable housing. The town currently has an approved housing production plan, however, as of the filing, did not currently satisfy any of the statutory or regulatory exemption thresholds outlined in MGL Chapter 40B and 780 CMR 56.00. 2. The Town of Falmouth, Massachusetts Housing Production Plan report dated March 2024 identifies the goal to add 80 new SHI-eligible affording housing units in a given calendar year, or 400 units over the next 5 years. The HPP referenced the substantial gap between the cost of housing and what residents can afford, and documented a specific need for appropriate-sized rental units for smaller households. Number 3. The applicant has met the requirements to file a comprehensive permit. The applicant has 1, control of the land, purchase and sales agreement dated March 11, 2024, submitted at filing, deed recorded July 12, 2024. 2, the project has been issued a project eligibility site approval letter from the Massachusetts Housing Finance Authority, Mass Housing, dated May 17, 2024. And 3, the applicant proposes to create a limited dividend organization. I'd like to hold that one. Or we can discuss it now, whatever you'd like to do, Madam Chair.
Yep, we can hold.
Number 4, the town staff attended a site walk with Mass Housing on March 21st, 2024, and submitted a letter to Mass Housing with project comments dated April 22nd, 2024.
Hold. Do we write that the board went on a site visit also?
No, that's not our site visit, that's the previous one.
Oh, yeah.
Site visit.
Jeez, I get them mixed up.
They're blending together.
They are.
Number 5, the subject site, 85 Brick Hill Road, is on a public right-of-way along the southerly side and comprises 4.28 acres, 187,700 square feet, sited in the Agricultural B zoning district, the Great Pond Coastal Pond Overlay District, and Flood Zone X. The premises is not on town sewer. The minimum conforming lot size for the district is 40,000 square feet. 6, the premises has 95.87 feet of street frontage on Brick Hill Road in a district requiring a minimum of 100 feet of street frontage. On the frontage is non-conforming. 7, the area surrounding the proposal is primarily comprised of single-family dwellings. There is a development of duplexes, 2 lots to the west, by issuance of a comprehensive permit. 8, there is no public transportation on Brick Hill Road. 9, the premises is currently undeveloped. Topography ranges from 28 feet to 44 feet. 10, the proposed development of the premises will comprise 40 total units with 22 studios, 4 3-bedroom units, and 14 2-bedroom units. The studio units will all be sited in 2 buildings on slab foundations. The 2 and 3-bedroom units will be sited in duplexes and have full basements. A private driveway is proposed for access to the development. 11, 10 units will be offered for those with incomes at 80% of the area median income, AMI or less. The affordable units have been identified as K104, K106, K202, J101, J202, J204, A1, E2, G1, and I1. This includes 6 studio units, 3 2-bedroom units, and 1 3-bedroom unit. As a rental development, all units will count towards the town's subsidized housing inventory with the EOHLC. These units also fulfill an identified need in the town's housing production plan for restricted affordable rental units. A waiver has been requested to exceed the allowable density of 6 units per acre in the Agricultural B zoning district. 12, Town Engineering Department issued an 8-page referral including the following. A, require peer engineer to review proposal including stormwater review. B, sewage to be reviewed by Board of Health. C, water to be reviewed by Water Division and Falmouth Fire Department. D, parking requirement is 69 spaces, 76 are provided, 4 spaces are required to be accessible, 5 are provided. 3 of the 5 accessible spaces qualify for van use, 1 is required. E, work in right-of-way requires a town permit for street opening with required bond and timely completion. Removal of 2 existing driveway aprons is required. Tactile strip at sidewalk terminus and Brick Hill Road required. Stabilized construction entrance required. Utility trench at road and pavement and joining detail requires a saw cut a minimum of 1 foot from the edge of excavation and 1 foot mill and overlay of the top course of asphalt. F, recommend request crosswalk from project to existing sidewalk on south side of Brick Hill Road. Traffic Advisory Committee. G, follow Towns Engineering assignment of address is proposed to be 85 Brick Hill Road plus unit number for private driveway. Addresses to be properly posted. H, provision of any proposed development sign. I, trash, recycling, and plowing are private. J, confer with U.S. Postal Service regarding mail. K, must meet town stormwater regulations and file for stormwater permit. L, requirement to follow town soil erosion and sediment control standard conditions with oversight by peer engineer. M, the stormwater system will be private. Per the operation and management plan in perpetuity, the owner shall submit annually all required reports and inspections and report any change in ownership to the town. O, prior to site disturbance, A, copy of approved stormwater permit to ZBA. B, provide EPA construction general permit. C, street opening permit. D, inspection of installed erosion and sediment controls, including existing stormwater structures in Brick Hill to plan and include any required silt sack installations in Brick Hill Road. E, provide project contact information to ZBA, engineering, and police. Big P, pre-construction meeting with required staff. Q, appear to confirm parking is correct per plan. R, recommendation to install wheel stops or bollards at mail kiosk, any high pedestrian area for safety. Parking in front of proposed garage would block pedestrian path. S, proposed retaining wall at approximately 6 feet could require a building permit overseen by peer engineer. T, peer engineer to confirm site distances, review no pipes within 10 feet of a foundation, add electric lines to plan, review utility, sewer, stormwater to avoid conflict, verify seasonal high groundwater, adequate separation from bottom of infiltration system, calculation for 50-year storm, drainage at property lines, proper flow information related to surfaces, stormwater runoff discharges, construction oversight, and inspections. Number 13. The board retained Matthew Cody of Beals and Thomas, 32 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass., to peer review the engineering for the project. 14. The housing coordinator issued a referral noting that the proposal meets rental needs with varying sized units. 15. The fire department reported that travel path is adequate for emergency apparatus and required one hydrant to be added in an area of the loft buildings. 16. The Board of Health noted that the proposal is designed for Title V with a reserve area shown should enhanced denitrification be required. 17. The assessor requested inspection prior to final sign-off by the building department and noted that the addresses will be required as assigned by engineering. 18. The Cape Cod Commission noted that the unit max aligns with the 2018 housing production plan. Note that the HPP was updated in 2024. With rental units proposed in 11 buildings with duplexes comprising 1,535 square feet footprint at the 21 feet in height. The 10-unit studio building is proposed to have a footprint of 3,500 square feet at 28 feet in height, and the 12-unit studio building proposed to have a footprint of 4,200 square feet at 28 feet in height. The Cape Cod Commission commented on A, the front facade of the studio building, noting that they could benefit from a design change that would break up the massing. B, the significant paved parking, recommend impervious pavement to reduce the impervious area. C, landscaping at the entrance between buildings towards neighboring properties with a preference towards limiting clearing and mitigating as much existing native vegetation as possible, supplemented by native plantings. D, they did not consider that this development would generate significant traffic. E, recommended an accessible curb ramps connecting both sides of the site driveway to the site's internal sidewalk. F, limit sign or vegetation at the entrance to not visibly obstruct site distance. G, parking area to be EV ready. H, reduce impervious cover, incorporate green stormwater infrastructure into landscape design. I, location within Great Pond watershed, a nitrogen impaired abatement. Quote, it should be confirmed that appropriate infrastructure to facilitate future sewer connection is being installed during project construction to minimize future costs and required construction. The town's sewer servicing phase and timeline should be reviewed to determine whether sewer service will be available to the project within an acceptable amount of time or whether advanced on-site treatment should be installed as part of the project construction. Septic systems must be designed to avoid adversely impacting downgradient saltwater resources. 19, the wastewater superintendent issued an email on March 20, 2024, prior to staff site walking, stating, quote, this project is in the watershed to the town's main drinking water source, Long Pond, and so should have a denitrifying septic system. 20, The planning board issued a referral supporting the rental units to include studio units and 2- and 3-bedroom units in duplexes. The planning board identified that the 2 studio buildings lack architectural style, noting that they should be enhanced architecturally. They also recommended installation of a denitrification septic system. 20.1. The board found that the planning board, wastewater superintendent, and Cape Cod Commission all recommended the installation of a denitrifying septic systems at the premises due to its location within Great Pond watershed, a nitrogen-impaired embayment, coupled with the fact that the premises will not be eligible to connect to sewer, parentheses with G.26.
So just for the board's information, that finding would be coupled with the condition in G26, if that's how you vote.
Okay.
21, abutters attended public hearings and expressed the following concerns. One abutter, Sophie Lane, west of the proposed development, reported filing for adverse possession for approximately 4,400 square feet of area proximate to the proposed duplex building numbers 4 and 5. Containing an installed shed plus land they have maintained. Counsel for the abutter appeared before the board to confirm that the abutters have established elements required for adverse possession and initiated a legal proceeding. Hold that, or we can just, I just want to add something.
Add it in now if you want.
Litigation was confirmed by the applicant's representative. Second bullet point, flooding from Sophie Lane into the premise management of stormwater. Bullet point, property owner allowing fill dumping at premises with no soil erosion or sediment controls in place. Another bullet point, concern location of dumpster related to children and wildlife. Next bullet point, concern about site drainage leading to flooding at 77 Brick Kiln Road due to the lower topography. Next bullet point, concern about site lighting, noise, and nitrogen pollution. Next bullet point, scale of development, lack of architectural features for studio buildings. Next bullet point, snow storage / parking on septic area. Final, cars / traffic.
Hold for a sec. Wasn't there a tree removal? There was people very much worried about clear cutting.
That was mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So bullet point, tree removal, please. Go ahead, 22.
The applicant will be required to provide EV-ready parking spaces in addition to meeting solar-ready requirements of the Stretch Energy Code in effect at the time of application for a building permit. 23, the existing lot coverage by structures is 0% and will be increased to 14.5%. The agricultural B zoning district limits the maximum lot coverage by structure to 20%. Section 240-11.3A. 24, lot coverage by structures, parking, paving is currently 0% and will be increased to 44.2%. The agricultural B zoning district limits lot coverage to structures, parking, and paving to 40%, section 240-11.3A. A waiver from the provisions of section 240-11.3A of the zoning bylaw is requested as to the lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking. 25, the plans were revised to add an additional fire hydrant and to provide the location for tanks if a denitrifying septic is required. 26, the side / rear yard setbacks of the proposed building is a maximum of 20 feet. Minimum, excuse me. Minimum of 20 feet. The bylaw requires a minimum side or rear setback of 10 feet. Note that buildings 4 and 5 may be affected by the abutter's claim regarding adverse possession. 27, studio building A is proposed to comprise 12 units and be dimensioned 101 feet by 32.92 feet with covered decks on the front and rear of the buildings. Studio B is proposed to comprise 10 units and be dimensioned 84.25 feet by 32.92 feet with covered decks on the front and rear of the building. Shared laundry area is provided for the studio buildings. The studio units are proposed to comprise 612 square feet and be 28 feet 1/4 inches in height. 28, the duplex buildings are proposed to be 48 feet by 32.5 feet with a shared front porch, side bulkheads, and 5 foot by 5 foot rear landing each. No patios or sheds are shown. Building 1 and 3 are proposed to be the 3-bedroom units. Buildings 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are proposed to be 2-bedroom units. The height is proposed to be 21 feet, 9 3/4 inches. The 2-bedroom units are proposed to comprise 780 square feet of area. The 3-bedroom units are proposed to comprise 1,122.6 square feet of area. 29, the applicant proposes a 24-foot by 60-foot garage structure planned to be 17 feet 10 and 7/16 inches in height for storage of vehicles, equipment, materials, and possible workspace sited toward the southerly entrance area of the development.
You hold that one?
The number now?
29. Number 30, the board expressed concern about the number of garage bays/space proposed, 5 in one building plus 2 in the second building, noting that the bays are primarily not for residents, with the exception of 2 bays possibly for residents' bicycles. Rather, the project representative identified that the owner owns multiple other rental developments in town and intends to store supplies and equipment to serve all the developments. The board identified that the developer should pursue a contractor's yard to store such commercial use equipment.
We're going to hold that one, too.
31, a dumpster is proposed to be sited between Studio B building and duplex number 1. A mail station is proposed with parking for 2 vehicles. A school bus shelter is proposed proximate to Brick Hill Road. 32, the project engineer reported that they would install an impermeable 40-milliliter poly liner around the entire exterior of the detention basin to prohibit water from the basin toward the abutter to the east, whose property is at a lower topographic level. It is proposed to be 190 feet in length and be 3 feet below grade, running from elevation 20 to 27. Groundwater level was not determined at the time of test pits. 33, the access for the development is proposed to be a 24-foot wide driveway with a Cape Cod berm. An internal sidewalk is planned within the development connecting to Brick Kiln Road. A crosswalk is proposed to connect the development to the sidewalk on the westerly side of Brick Kiln Road, south of the development. A pull-off area is provided within the driveway for vehicles proximate to Brick Hill Road for parents awaiting to drop off and pick up by school bus. 34, the applicant has submitted a list of waivers requested for the development. And since
We can
they're
just do-
listed at
yeah.
the end, if I can, we can
We'll do those
reference them
later.
as to what we'll do at the end.
Yeah.
That's all right, Madam Chairman?
Is that okay with you, Noreen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You want to go back and discuss now, Madam Chairman?
Yeah, let's go back and do the holds. Let's see where we are.
3, I believe, is the first one, Madam.
3, yep.
If I may?
Take it away.
So, as for number 1, as to control of the land, I just think we might want to have something in there that, it's referenced further on, just that regarding the status of litigation. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, Madam Chair, but I just think that,
I agree.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all,
Yep.
seeing how it's factual.
so my suggested language would be, at the time of application, the applicant had control of land, and during the course of the hearing, an adverse possession litigation was commenced
By and a butter.
by an abutter.
Direct abutter. We
Direct
should have
abutter.
that word, yeah.
I just think it needs to be very clear in the record.
Yeah,
It's referenced on several other findings and then proposed conditions. So
yeah, that
that
sounds
would be my
good.
suggested language.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam
Noreen, you
Chairman.
good?
I didn't speak up when we went by it, but I do have a comment on one, or question about one of the conditions, number 6. Premises has 95.87 feet of street frontage on Brick Hill Road in a district requiring a minimum of 100 feet of street frontage. Frontage is non-conforming. Now, typically, we would put a note in there if there's a requested waiver, but there is no requested waiver. They never requested a waiver of the minimum frontage.
It's an existing lot,
So,
so they don't have, there's no way to change the frontage, so they can't ask for a waiver from the frontage because the existing lot,
they can ask, the requirement is 100 feet.
right,
So they can ask for a
Waiver from
a
it.
waiver of the requirement, but they never did. It's not in the requested waivers. So I think we should put a note there that no waiver was requested.
Right, so we do say at the end, any waiver not requested is denied.
Right.
So
and-
it would cover that, but, so,
No,
No, that wouldn't, that would.
I
that would
agree,
mix
it should be right in there,
it should
in
be
this
right in
sentence.
there, and then-
In this sentence, yeah.
okay, so
Then the
what
question
language
is-
do you want to add that they didn't ask for a
They
waiver?
didn't ask for a
from?
waiver of it. I looked at the requested waivers, there's no requested waiver of the minimum street frontage.
Just right after the word non-conforming, no waiver was requested by the applicant. Does that sound all right?
Yes.
So then we're gonna have to adjust it at the end, right?
Okay.
I have another one, too.
Go for it.
In,
What
on
number?
page 9, at the top, there's a paragraph with the letter R. Parking in front of proposed garage would block pedestrian path. Is there any condition later on that there's to be no parking there? I didn't see it.
We did not specify anything, but we certainly could.
It seems to me we've kind of raised an issue here we haven't resolved.
Right.
Well,
So,
that is it, and I'm not sure what garage you're talking about either, but.
well,
That's the
right,
kiosk.
yeah, so, yeah.
Is it the big garage?
No, it's a
They
kiosk, isn't
they
it?
didn't specify, but I think the concern obviously was that for the garages that they were creating, that you would not separately want somebody parking in front of them that would obstruct or be on the sidewalk. So you could reference, I guess, that you can't park on the sidewalk.
That would only apply to the large garage by appearance here. I could be wrong.
I find this confusing,
So that list is what was provided by the town engineer in the referral. So those bullet points are all from that referral.
All right, so let's just tighten up R a little bit. We have to figure out, are we talking about the big garage? It seems like they are to me. I don't have my plan in front of me, do you?
I don't
If you
either.
look, I do, and
You
if
do?
you look, it seems the two-car garage
The two-car
has enough
garage?
space.
Okay.
The big garage, which I don't think belongs there anyway, is the one that's the issue. I also don't see any reason why, or should we get to that when we get, because I've held 29 and 30, it's kind of the same.
Yeah, but we shouldn't leave this out to the wind like this.
Yeah,
This should
no.
be cleaned up. Anyway, I feel.
Well, we can do it with a comment. I mean, if it's,
Yeah.
if we're just,
How
Putting in
about, it appears that the parking limitation is in the large garage, and it also appears that it could be shifted backwards to accommodate.
Why don't we just put parking in front of the large garage would block pedestrian path, and therefore,
we have to put a condition in prohibiting it if the garage is going to even,
yeah, that's true.
Well,
right?
I mean, I intend to ask that they get, like I said, when we get to 29 and 30, that they're only allowed an additional two-car garage. They have no justification for that
I
large garage.
understand. That's one of the reasons why I brought this up, because I know you were going to do that, and this is a possible conflict.
Yeah, well, it could, it certainly appears that they could shift that backwards a sufficient distance to alleviate that issue. Because, as far as I'm concerned, they're not getting that 7-car garage there to store.
Maybe the answer to this is that we
In the
wait till we get,
conditions.
we wait till
Yeah,
we
To
get
get to
to
conditions. I
decide
think,
what's going to be there and then put a condition on it.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
that's,
should we make it the large garage on this finding?
what it's going to, yeah.
Since it's not
but
the
it's going
small
to turn
one?
into a small garage if, again,
All right.
anyway.
Okay.
Let's just change it to the word large.
Okay.
Okay? At least it kind of makes it a little better, yeah.
In T, while we're here on page 9, is that a 50-year storm or a 100-year storm?
Per the engineer's referral, it said 50-year.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Don't we always deal with 100-year, though?
Well, so the town of Falmouth has some maybe not as much up-to-date requirements for some stormwater requirements, so I'm just quoting what the engineering referral said.
I just never heard of a 50. I mentioned, maybe it has been, but I usually remember numbers.
Okay, so we're moving on. Is everybody else is all set with R and T? Are there any other holds?
29 and 30.
29 and 30 are
Okay,
held.
all right, let's do it. Is everybody ready to move on to 29 and 30?
Certainly.
No, you're being quiet down there.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's a beautiful thing. All right, 29. This was this you that held? No, it was Mark. Mark.
I believe that the large garage should be no larger than the other garage, the two-car garage. I think the configuration of the doors should be left up to the applicant, and I think that it should be shifted backwards sufficient to allow parking and people to traverse the sidewalk.
All right, so just for clarification purposes, they were proposing one, like a two-car garage.
For bicycles.
And then separately proposing a five-car garage.
Yeah, but it was,
So for which garage are you talking about?
I'm referring to the large one, should be the identical footprint of the small one, and shifted back to allow,
This isn't the time to do that.
Before we start splitting hairs about whether this is just a finding. It's not, this is not a condition or whether we're allowed, it's just that the applicant's proposing this, and then we expressed our concern.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
We'll hit it under
yeah,
conditions.
well, just
Yeah.
as long as we hit it.
We'll do it.
And 30 you probably did for the same reason?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on 29 or 30 in the findings?
I mean, you can always go back if there's some language in the condition that you want reflected in the finding. We can always bounce back to that, too.
Everybody else that with findings?
Yeah.
Conditions. General, G1. The construction shall be substantially as shown on the plan submitted to and reviewed by the board listed below through subject to additional conditions separately delineated. Cover/index sheet 1 of 15 dated May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of January 13th, 2025. Existing conditions plan sheet 2 of 15 dated May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of January 13th, 2025. Site layout and zoning plan sheet 3 of 15 dated May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of January 2nd, 2025. Site layout sheet 4 of 15 dated May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of December 2nd, 2024. Site layout sheet 2, sheet 5 of 15, date May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of December 2nd, 2024. Grading, drainage, and utility plan, sheet 1, sheet 6 of 15, dated May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of January 13th, 2025. Grading, drainage, and utilities, sheet 2, sheet 7 of 15, dated May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of January 13th, 2025. Septic system and utility plan, sheet 1, sheet 8 of 15, date May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of January 13th, 2025. Septic system and utilities plan, sheet 2, sheet 9 of 15, dated May 8th, 2024, with a final revision date of January 13th.
Wait. We don't need to read these next three. This is a lot. Is that okay if he doesn't read these next three? This is a lot.
I think it's just,
Doesn't bother me in the least.
go to G10.
Yeah.
Thank you. You mean G2?
G2, excuse me. It starts with the word 10.
Yeah.
Plans as submitted with final revision plans. G2, 10 units, including 6 studio units, 3 two-bedroom units, and 1 three-bedroom unit, shall remain affordable rental units in perpetuity to households earning no more than 80% of the area median income for Barnstable County. 40 rental units shall remain eligible for inclusion on the town's subsidized housing inventory per the requirements of the State Executive Office of Housing and Livable Conditions, EOHLC. All affordable units shall be year-round tenancy. Market rate units are anticipated to be year-round units.
So the question there is just a matter of wordsmithing. Do you want to specify that the market rate units are a minimum of 1-year tenancy?
Yeah. Yes.
I would think.
I don't see why not.
Why not?
All right, so I will
Just make
change,
it all units.
Yeah, all
Okay,
units.
so I'll just put market rate units shall be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay to proceed?
So you just pull out the anticipated?
Right, I'm going to change anticipated to shall be and get rid of the bold text.
You just have to take out anticipated, and that's fine, right? All affordable units shall be year-round tenancy. Market rate
Yeah.
units
Yeah.
are to be year-round units.
Yep,
Make it easier.
yep. Okay, go ahead.
The affordable units shall be evenly distributed through the building as approved by the EOHLC, and the affordable unit information shall be submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals and thereafter the Housing Coordinator. The developer has proposed the following units be affordable: K104, K106, K202, J101, J202, J204, A1, E2, G1, and I1. G3, there shall be no additional bedrooms created within the buildings, and no space may be converted to add additional bedrooms to any unit. Noncompliance with this condition shall be considered a violation of the comprehensive permit. The development is limited to 58 total bedrooms. G4, this comprehensive permit shall not be transferred without express written approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals in accordance with 760 CMR 56. The affordability component shall remain in perpetuity, including surviving foreclosure and bankruptcy. G5, each condition in this decision shall run with the land and shall, in accordance with its terms, be applicable to and binding upon the applicant and the applicant's successors and assigns. G6, the height of the studio building shall be limited to 28 feet 1/4 inches, and the duplex building shall be limited to 21 feet 9 3/4 inches. G7, where this comprehensive permit is granted specifically under MGL Chapter 40B, Sections 20 to 23, allowing the override of local zoning density, there shall be no as-of-right changes made to the subject property. Any changes requested shall be properly submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals as provided for under MGL Chapter 40B and the associated regulations. G8, the 24-foot by 60-foot garage structure planned to be 17 feet 10 7/16 inches in height for storage of property owners' vehicles, equipment, material, and possible workspace shall be removed from the plan and not replaced. The two-bay garage is granted to include space for studio residents' bicycle storage.
Okay, we might want to discuss it here now.
I think that, it's legitimate that they need somewhere to store a truck and a lawnmower and whatever. So I think it could simply read that the owner's property storage structure shall mimic the dimensions of the other garage.
And shall only contain equipment
Well,
for
they can
this
put whatever what they
property?
want in it, but, as long as the size is the same,
So you want two 24 by 60 feet garage structures?
Yeah.
All right.
And then we also have to, that garage has to be shifted back to allow people's cars to be parked and people to traverse the sidewalk, because that's the one that appears to be too close.
24 by 60 sounds like a five-car garage.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
It can't be that
We
one.
don't want two of those.
No, it would mimic the bicycle storage one. No, I don't want, obviously not. But that one has to be moved backward a little bit to allow parking, and it certainly appears on the plan that there's plenty of room.
What size is the two-car garage?
It had it in the findings, didn't it?
Or maybe it did.
No, it wasn't in there. And I don't have a ruler to scale it off. We can't ask Nick, right?
No. But
So why
you
don't we
can look on
just
the
say,
plan.
it shall mimic,
Yeah.
it shall
That's all.
mimic
That's all you have to say.
the bicycle storage.
Well, you can't mimic something that's not
There.
outlined.
It shall mimic the other garage shown on the plan.
Well, it's to scale on the plan, so, they can't
Do it that
build
way.
something larger
So
than.
you're going to limit them to two two-car
cars.
garages?
Yeah.
Period.
That wording,
With parking to not block any pedestrian.
yeah, but if we limit them to two car, it doesn't.
Doesn't block.
It's better if we mimic the bicycle storage garage, however you want to word it. That way, they're not going to go build two larger garages.
Okay,
right.
so the language will essentially be that you are not allowing the five-car garage bay.
Right.
In its
No.
place, you're allowing a substitution of a two-car garage to be shifted back, so they can show it to us on the plan.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
the revised
but it has to be
plan, and
somewhere-
that there not be parking in front of it to obstruct the sidewalk.
Somewhere we have to say it has to be the same size as the other garage.
Right.
So it should mimic it dimensionally, I think is proper wording.
Is that good for everybody up here?
Yes.
No,
Good? Not good for you, Tony?
wait a minute. Well, it's going to have to probably be that. We have a plan here that's issued on 12/10 and not 24, and it appears to be, can you see that? I'm sorry, I can't see it. 60 feet by 24, that's the large garage.
The big one.
Large garage.
We want it to be the same size as the small one.
That's
All
pretty
right.
large for a two-car.
No, that's the large.
That's the large one.
That's
So
the
I'm just
large-
saying,
Oh, no, the 24.
I'm trying to find the size of the
24 by
two-
60 is the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the size of the
Yeah.
two-car.
Well, it's,
Here it is, I got mine.
I don't like mimic, but, I mean, if that's the best we
They're
can do.
typically 24 by
It doesn't really
24.
have it.
it
The
fits.
plan doesn't show the dimensions on it.
No, and I don't have a scale or whatever, but, I mean, they can't build something larger than
Oh, wait,
than what the
this one
plans.
has
It's big, but it is a two-car.
Those are only the setbacks.
Like
That's this one.
34.15 feet.
We can't just see the
by-
two-car because
Somebody will have to have a ruler.
too big, even though it's the big one.
Yeah, it's the
Mine
size
shows
of-
one dimension on it. 34.15, that's all it says. Sometimes it's down here, you know, in the tables.
Two-car garages are typically 24 by 24.
Yeah, and this one says
Well, don't we have a
34.
scale plan here?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, it is 34.
Yeah, it says 34 on mine, but it doesn't give the side.
Whatever, this is not a 7-car garage, whatever they were putting there.
So my suggestion, Madam Chairman, is we come up with an approximate dimension of a two-car garage. They can
Yeah.
always come back with
Right.
administrative approval if they need to make it a little wider, a little longer, or,
Well, how about the second garage shall not exceed 34.15 feet?
No, that's an elevation.
was that an elevation?
That's an elevation.
Yep,
Is it
That's a
really?
width, isn't it?
I thought it was width.
no, it's an elevation.
That's
yeah,
too
the
tall.
No, ground
Elevation
elevation.
from the road.
Yeah.
Or,
Ground
It's
elevation.
a ground elevation.
Oh, okay.
That's why I don't like not having scale plans.
yeah, or a scale in my,
Or a
So
scale, yeah.
just do a regular two-car garage dimension,
That's fine.
right?
Yeah, and then if it needs to be amended, it can be.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
there's-
right with everybody up here?
Boy,
Okay, so one of the garages is going to be exclusively for tenants' bicycles, and
Has-
one garage can be for the owner's
Yeah.
storage of,
He said screens and,
well, we don't have to
smoke alarm,
specify.
whatever they.
Smoke
they can
alarms, thank you.
want.
I go like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, those things.
I don't want to,
no, but I was just,
Chairman, there should be storage of things for this particular development.
yes,
Yeah,
specific to the development.
yeah.
or you could say garage cannot be larger than the,
A two-car garage.
A
She's just
two-car
going to do
garage,
regular
yeah.
specs, yeah.
Well,
Okay,
later
so
in the
everyone, we're
paragraph-
all on the same page for that now? Tony,
Later
you
in the
good?
paragraph, you referred to the two-bay garage, so you've already got a reference to it.
Yeah.
We good, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
G9, parking or storage of any unregistered vehicle, boat, recreational vehicle, or trailers on the premises is strictly prohibited.
Can I add no fertilizer to conditions? Since it's in a sensitive area?
Yeah, I don't see.
I mean, if we're doing D-night, might as well, you know, if we might be doing D-night.
I think that's a good idea.
Do you
I
want to
think that
include
only
that
is
with?
within
No, I don't.
proximity to a
You
water
don't think I
body.
should do
No,
it?
that's a drinking water.
Yeah, it's a water thing, and there's no proximity.
Okay,
So
I got
yes
voted
on-
out.
Well, we had a referral from the water super that it's near Long Pond, that it was,
Yeah.
there
There's a
was.
referral in this thing, in the findings.
Sensitive, that's what I was going by myself. but-
2 miles away from Long
She
Pond.
recommended the D-night septic system, there's nothing about the water protection, but there was a referral that was within the watershed.
I agree. Number, number 18?
Anytime that, to my knowledge, that they've limited the fertilizer
No,
or
it's not.
asked for it was proximity to water
Number
bodies.
19.
Project is in the watershed
Yeah.
of the town's main drinking water source, Long Pond, and should have a denitrification septic system,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
not about,
No, anytime I've ever heard that, it's been, proximity, and I think it's 50 or 100 feet
Close, so
from a water
we won't
body, so we
bother.
can't do
Okay.
any of that. We'd
All right, I just thought I'd throw it out there.
be going beyond our,
Yep. All right, now I gotta find out where I was.
Bottom of the page.
G10.
town hall.
All right.
there shall be no accessory structures installed on the premises due to the lot coverage limits absent prior approval by the zoning board of appeals. G11, an outside consultant shall be engaged as the site inspector for this project. The site inspector shall report directly to the zoning board of appeals. Site inspector shall be responsible for inspections related to the stormwater permit, including erosion and sediment control requirements, and submit the inspection reports required under the stormwater permit to DPW engineering. Site inspector shall be responsible for the review of the as-built plans for compliance with the approved site plans and the construction-related conditions of the approval. Copies of the inspections related to compliance with this permit shall be submitted to the zoning board of appeals. G12, maintenance and repair of subsurface stormwater runoff control shall be in accordance with the operation and maintenance plan last revised December 2nd, 2024. G13, the access to the development is by private driveway. As such, snow, trash, and recycle removal from the premises shall be the responsibility of the owner. G14, dark sky compliant lighting shall be provided and spotlights are prohibited. Any lighting installed to a side or rear of the building shall be required to meet code. Lighting shall be installed in accordance with the applicant's lighting plan, lighting proposal dated October 29, 2024, prepared for 85 Brookfield Road, Falmouth, Mass., as drawn by LSI 28008 Alliance Road, Cincinnati, Ohio. G15, the applicant shall comply with any requirements of the Stretch Energy Code adopted in Falmouth for the provision of designated EV-ready parking spaces in buildings solar-ready as required at the time of the application for building permit. Multifamily developments currently require 20% of parking spaces to be EV-ready. G16, secure covered bicycle parking/storage spaces shall be provided as represented during the hearing. G17, there shall be no exterior installation of vegetation or signage which limits line of sight for vehicles exiting the premises. Any proposed development sign shall be provided to the Zoning Board of Appeals in advance of installation for confirmation of compliance with town requirements. There shall be no plantings, structures, or signage within the Brick Hill Road right-of-way. G18, all first floor studio residential units shall be Group 1 adaptable dwelling units pursuant to the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board requirements that regulate unit adaptability for persons with disabilities, including entry, bathroom, and bedroom/kitchen. G19, the applicant shall provide the Zoning Board of Appeals and Housing Coordinator with a copy of the audited cost certification of the development within 180 days of the completion of construction. G20, any change from plans submitted and approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals shall be submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals for approval prior to the implementation of said change. The zoning administrator may make a determination as to whether the changes are substantially as shown on the approved plans referenced in G1 above, or essentially minor in nature and can be approved administratively, or whether the applicant must submit the changes to the ZBA pursuant to 760 CMR 56.0111. Changes made prior to an approval may be subject to a full hearing and are at risk that the ZBA may deny the request, subjecting any unapproved construction to be ordered undone. G21, this comprehensive permit shall be a master permit which shall subsume all local permits and approvals normally issued by local boards. The Board of Health and Conservation Commission are excluded from this provision with respect to permits and approvals issued pursuant to state laws or regulations. G22, this permit shall lapse 3 years from the date of which the decision is filed in the town clerk's office if a substantial use of the comprehensive permit has not sooner commenced, except for good cause shown as determined by the Zoning Board of Appeals. 23, this permit shall not take effect until a copy of the decision bearing the certification of the town clerk that 20 days has elapsed after the decision has been filed in the office of the town clerk with no appeal being filed, or that an appeal has been filed within such time is recorded in the Barnstable Registry of Deeds. Any person exercising rights under a duly appealed comprehensive permit does so at risk that a court may reverse the permit and that any construction performed under the permit may be ordered undone. G24, any damage to Brick Kiln Road during the construction process shall be repaired under the direction of and compliant with town standards under a street permit if required, at the expense of the applicant. G25, the multi-unit studio buildings shall be fully sprinkled as required by code. G26, I think we're going to need some discussion on, Madam Chairman.
Also, I have a question. We put a condition in there about that membrane that they're going to put in to control the,
Yes.
I think it's further,
no,
isn't
it
it?
was in the findings, it's not.
Oh, it's not in the conditions?
It's got to be in the conditions.
Yeah, we should. I thought I had read it.
Yeah, it was just in the findings, though.
I would suggest that be added, a description of it, and it would be, shall be installed and maintained in perpetuity by the owner.
Where?
Yeah,
Water retention pond?
Next to the,
In the, she can just use the finding language.
yeah, I'm thinking that would be in prior to occupancy, because, you know, relating to the time that you would do that.
As long
I
as
mean,
it's
well,
in
no, you
there.
could put it in the general,
I
too.
put it in the general conditions. It's very important to some of the neighbors.
Okay, so, June 27.
It's under 05, including the impermeable 40 milliliter poly liner. Isn't that what we're talking?
Shall be installed as described.
See it in 05?
Yes.
That's occupancy permit.
Yeah. Is that detailed enough, do we think?
it doesn't indicate it's supposed to be maintained in perpetuity.
Yeah, we should add that part in, you're right.
There's really no maintenance for it.
Well, you never know, it might bust.
It will eventually have some deterioration.
Okay, so we're gonna have...
We'll just add it on to 05, I think.
All
Don't you
right.
think that works?
All right, so you want it installed and maintained?
Yeah,
In perpetuity.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Good pickup, Frank. Okay, now we're on to G26.
Concerning which option we wish to go with, Madam Chairman.
Let's start with Tony.
Well, I mean, I have to ask the question, where are we in town with regard to the districts in the Board of Health requiring these for these developments? Have we made any progress to that so that we don't necessarily have to condition it? Because if we're not headed in the right direction in town, we need to try and condition this.
Right. So it's my general understanding that the Board of Health has that issue underway, and that it would be anticipated that would be in place prior to this building permit being pulled. That being said, if they opted to pull the building permit immediately post the 20-day appeal period, it's not likely to be in place at that time. So I guess the question rolls to the board about whether you want to require it or whether you want to leave it to the certain circumstances and conditions at the time the building permit's pulled.
Well, if they do change it and require it, they're going to be like any other dwelling. They're going to have to comply.
Right.
So I don't think there's any need to mention it at all.
Well, the issue is if he pulls a permit prior to the town changing its Board of Health conditions.
Well, I mean, it'd be no different than an existing property. I mean, if they determine that that's the way they're going to deal with the nitrogen-sensitive area, it's going to apply to everybody.
Right.
Him and all the single-family houses as well. So I don't think there's any way he's going to get around it.
Well, though, I guess what it rolls down to here is, you know, either the Board of Health makes a determination, or if you were unclear about when that would happen, you would do it. The purpose for the findings listed the way they are is just as a reminder that you do have other people issuing referrals to the board that recommend it. So
Cape Cod
We'll go back to
Commission.
number 19 in the findings.
you have Cape Cod Commission, you have the Planning
Amy.
Board, you have the wastewater super, all recommending.
And the water super.
That you,
Wastewater super.
so.
Yeah.
Water super.
No.
Yeah,
It says right here in finding, it says right here in the findings, the wastewater superintendent issued a, so forth and so on. This project is in the watershed to the town's main drinking water. This board required it of another 40B within the same district adjacent to the drinking water source. So why wouldn't we do the same thing here?
The bylaw doesn't require
What is
it
that?
No.
yet, and the,
But we're trying to be consistent when we're around and follow the recommendations of the folks that have to care for our water. I mean, this is what the wastewater superintendent is recommending. This board approved that or required it in another Brick Hill Road project. They're doing it right now. Why would we not do the same condition? I'm not sure. I mean, we're setting a precedent that we can do one for one and not the other.
Where's that?
the only difference.
19.
Which one, the one by the Lutheran church?
Yes.
Yes.
That's Long Pond they were
That's-
talking. It's two
Long-
different situations. That was close to Long Pond in the direct watershed or whatever. I mean, that's the town's drinking water.
But that's what Amy wrote right in 19.
That's what she wrote right here in
In the
number
findings.
19.
In the findings, Mark, number 19.
I mean, she's asking us to protect the drinking water of this community.
And we had planning board, and we have Cape Cod Commission.
I mean, from a financial perspective, right, you'd rather do it during new construction
now.
as opposed to
Digging it
put
up
your
later.
system in and then do it 3 or 4
Yeah.
years later.
Well, on that Brick Killed one, there was as I recall, and I wasn't on that, but I did pay attention, there was a specified distance they were from Long Pond. I mean, you're talking, this thing's
2 miles anyway.
Yeah.
4
It's in the
or
watershed,
5,000
not
feet away.
abutting the actual,
And my understanding is that thing is going to go into Great Pond, not the town's drinking water supply.
This,
Which is
the
Long
Pond.
the water
I'm reading Amy
superintendent,
Lowell.
the water superintendent is working on a very important plan to safeguard our watershed areas. We have a tremendous problem in this community right now. I think this board has an opportunity to support our water department and the plans they're making. Now, if the Board of Health, if they would just make a decision and decide what to do about these things, it would be easy. We wouldn't have to worry about it. But if they pull a permit prior to the Board of Health doing something, I mean, it's almost as if you've got all these different silos in town here, and one's doing one thing, one's doing another. They're all trying to get to the same place, but it seems that we're never going to get there, or we're going to get there too late. I think this board has responsibility under 19 to implement what she's asking for, what the department's asking for. But I'm just one person.
Yeah, you have the Cape Cod Commission commenting on that as well. So if you're looking at page 10, capital I, they're talking about the Great Pond watershed being a nitrogen impaired embayment, right? So what they're saying is they didn't know at the time if this development could be connected to sewer,
Yeah, but that's-
or what the timing would be, right?
That's Great Pond, and Amy's talking about Long Pond. It's two different.
Yeah,
It's my understanding that nitrogen is going into Great Pond.
yeah.
It's not going into Long Pond.
No, she's talking about the town's main drinking water source, Long Pond.
Yeah, but the Cape Cod Commission
Was
is talking about Great Pond.
As was the
Up above it in I.
And the planning board talks about Great
Yeah.
Pond, too.
I don't understand why, now I understand why we wouldn't condition it because of the way 40Bs work, but I think I think the board is not going to, if they're not going to pay attention to what the wastewater superintendent is suggesting, I don't know what we're supposed to do then.
so my feeling is this is the exact friction that we have between the 40B process and the Department of Environmental Protection.
Yeah.
The DEP, who's mandated, Falmouth, you shall reduce your total nitrogen load, and you have a statute that says you shall allow affordable housing to go in. I think that my feeling is that I think that we should condition it with the IA, the Board of Health may do it regardless. This is the last of the projects that are in before Safe Harbor. If it's financially too much for the applicant, he can seek remedies through the HAC.
Yes.
Which also may be, at least as to our requirement for an IA system, if the Board of Health requires it, well, that's a state regulation, and that's the end of the issue.
I see one of the weaknesses of our bylaw, where it says that it applies only to units, developments of 5 acres or 5 lots. It shouldn't read that. It should read flow. And this is 58 bedrooms. It's going to create a lot more sewage than 5 lots would create.
Yes.
And based upon that, and also the fact that we're so close in time proximity to a requirement for an IA system, I am inclined to put a requirement for the IA system in now. And if they want to take it to somebody else and get relief from them, let them.
That's exactly my feeling, Frank.
I'm in.
Right? We're going to play tough guy. I'm all over it.
All right, so we're going with option B.
Applicant shall install innovative alternate IA septic systems for the development.
Everybody's on board up here?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, S1.
Prior to site work, S1, there shall be no access to the premises by workers prior to the approved construction hours of 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. No Sunday or holiday hours are allowed. Absent an emergency, construction vehicles are prohibited from idling on or near the premises outside of construction hours. All construction vehicles shall remain strictly on the subject property and not obstruct sidewalks or park on abutting streets unless authorized by the police department. During construction, efforts shall be undertaken to minimize impacts on abutters, including securing dumpsters, stabilizing soil to guard against erosion from a rain event, utilizing a wash station, and ensuring that public roadways are kept clean in compliance with the town's soil erosion and sediment control standard conditions 8/2020, Appendix A, with the Zoning Board of Appeals as the permitting authority. The site shall be secured from predicted wind, rain, or snow conditions. The applicant shall consult with town engineering, site inspector regarding protection of town roads, installation of a wash station, and dust management during construction, and shall comply with general engineering requirements. The applicant shall provide an erosion control plan to be approved by town engineering and copied to the site inspector, which is a requirement of the street opening permit.
Well, I have one little tweak there for the top of that paragraph. It should actually be worded, no Sunday or town-observed holidays, because there's been some confusion for people in the past about which holidays the town observes or not.
Like St.
So-
Patrick's Day on Monday counts
Will
for
that
me.
include Suffolk County holidays, like evacuation?
Sure.
Yeah, it's
So we do post the town-observed holidays so that the developers can reference that.
Can we put anything in that says if they, and I understand, it says if they violate that, any abutter can ask to have the applicant recalled back to the board for discussion? I know that a building commissioner is the enforcement.
It falls under enforcement.
But you put a condition in another one that's ongoing right now, where there's a violation, not necessarily just of that, but of a condition, that an abutter can come back to the board with a complaint. That's ongoing right this minute.
But the abutter can complain directly to the building
And
commissioner.
if there's no relief,
Then you can appeal,
Then you
right?
can-
So-
Then they can appeal.
Yeah,
That's what they can back
so
up
it's the preferable pathway is for any aggrieved abutter to contact, for example, if it's a weekend and a noise issue, they would contact the police, and then followed up by the building commissioner. And then if the building commissioner does not enforce, then the complaining party would have to request the building commissioner put that in writing, and that's appealable to the zoning board.
all right, I hope everyone understands how absolutely difficult this is for
It is difficult,
abutters.
but
Yeah,
that's
they
the way
make
it's
it,
set.
they don't make it.
They make it very difficult.
Yep,
way it's set up.
They do.
All right. If that mechanism is in place, and that's what
The
you
other
tell
part of the
them.
problem is that the town still does not have any town-specified work or hours. So that's been the zoning
A little
enforcement
bit of a
issue,
glitch, yeah.
is that it's not in the bylaw.
It's quite a big glitch in that case.
Pulling that together somewhere along the line, huh?
Next year.
Town meeting, a piece of our mind.
Yes.
S2, the applicant shall show the transformer and electric lines on the plan submitted for a building permit with a copy to the Zoning Board of Appeals. S3, the applicant shall provide to the police, building department, engineering, and ZBA the name, phone number, and email address of a project contact individual for the duration of the construction process to ensure that any questions or concerns, including those of abutters and residents, are timely managed. S4, the applicant shall meet with the Falmouth Police Department to determine when or if police details would be required. All police details required by the Falmouth Police Department or per the applicant's own choice shall be paid for by the applicant. S5, at the applicant's expense, a site inspector will be designated by the town for this project from the firms that have been pre-vetted by the town. The applicant shall establish a 53G account prior to the pre-construction meeting through the Zoning Board of Appeals for the site inspector. The applicant shall obtain any required street permits for driveways, construction, abandonment, utility work, or other right-of-way work. The site inspector shall perform or oversee inspections for construction-related site work under this permit, leading up to review of as-built plans for compliance with the approval, to include driveway construction, compliance with conditions of this approval, sidewalk construction, retaining wall construction, parking layout, site lighting, site grading, signage, and pavement marking. Work under the stormwater management permit per Chapter 277, adherence to the town's soil erosion and sediment control standards, conditions, Appendix A. The site inspector shall not be responsible for inspections related to street opening permit, which shall be the jurisdiction of DPW engineering. Reports related to the stormwater permit and erosion control shall be submitted to the DPW engineering with copies sent to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Reports related to construction-related on-site work outside of stormwater and erosion control shall be submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals. S6, prior to starting work under the comprehensive permit, the applicant, the general contractor, and any necessary subcontractors, and the designated inspection engineer shall hold a pre-construction meeting with the building commissioner, representative of the Department of Public Works Engineering Division, zoning administrator, water superintendent, board of health agent, wastewater superintendent, Falmouth Fire, and Falmouth Police to review soil erosion and sediment controls, inspection requirements and procedures, review of conditions, construction, traffic management, general project schedule, building permit submission requirements, street opening permit requirements, NPDES construction general permit requirements, work hours, and any other pertinent information. Developers shall establish a 53G account with the town prior to this meeting to cover site inspection engineer fees.
We can strike that last sentence because it's actually duplicative. Yes, that's the joy of having some other folks in town departments assist with editing.
Nice.
We all come to the same.
S7.
S7, construction shall be in accordance with all requirements of town engineering, including the town's 2020 soil erosion and settlement control standard conditions, Appendix A. The applicant shall request inspections in writing at least 24 hours in advance to site inspector or town department. Reinspection fees shall be per section 305-5 to the town and as negotiated with the site inspector contract. No construction shall commence until inspections for the below items have been approved and DPW engineering has given written permission to proceed with construction. Copy of inspections to town engineering. A, the required erosion and sediment controls are installed and approved. Erosion and sediment controls shall be maintained in good condition at all times. Failure to maintain adequate erosion and sediment control on site will be grounds for stopping all construction activities until the issue is addressed. B, a stabilized construction entrance and wash station is installed and approved. C, stormwater infiltration areas are protected and the protection means are approved, including existing stormwater structures in Brick Hill Road, have silt sacks installed, and D, the limit of work is demarcated in the field and certified by the surveyor. S8, the town is specifically not waiving permits or fees associated with the construction, including as applicable but not limited to the water line, water tapping sleeve and valve, water meters, engineering, right-of-way work, and building department fees. Permit applications and plans for the water service shall be submitted to the Department of Public Works and the water superintendent. Any required utility easements shall be in a form and manner as prescribed by the town. S9, the applicant shall show the location of water and septic components and service on building permit plans. Plans shall state, quote, all standards, policies, construction practices, or rules and regulations of the Falmouth Water and Sewer Department shall be adhered to throughout the duration of the project, end quote. S10, prior to the installation of any stormwater leaching facilities, the site inspector shall observe the bottom of excavation and the applicant's engineer shall verify that the elevation is a minimum of 2 feet above estimated seasonal high groundwater. S11, landscaping shall be installed as presented in accordance with the landscape plan dated December 17, 2024, prepared for 85 Brick Hill Road, Falmouth, Massachusetts, as drawn by Hawk Design Incorporated, Sagamore, Mass. Plan is not stamped or signed, with all plant materials maintained in good health. Invasive vegetation on the premises shall be removed. Any materials substantially diseased or dead shall be removed and repaired with similar-sized plants within 2 years of the final certificate of occupancy. Mature trees, particularly those proximate to lot lines, shall be maintained to the extent possible with an adjusted limit of work line. Trees straddling the property line shall be assumed to be jointly owned and cannot be damaged or removed without prior written approval of both parties. The limit of work line shall be installed and inspected prior to site disturbance to protect root systems of trees both on the premises and those with root systems onto the premises. Trees to be protected and preserved shall be identified in the field on a plan, a copy of which shall be submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Prior to the building permit. B1, the applicant shall show good and clear title to the premises. Any change or alterations to the lot line shall require that the applicant appear before the board. B2, the water superintendent and Board of Health are required to sign off on the application in addition to other town departments with jurisdiction prior to the issuance of any building permit. Water service applications shall be made as required by the water superintendent, including any plans or meter requests. B3, the applicant shall provide the ZBA proof of the creation of the limited dividend organization in accordance with 760 CMR 56.04 to restrict profits. B4, prior to the issuance of a building permit for the building or unit, the applicant is required to provide the board with a copy of the EOHLC final approval of the project in accordance with the comprehensive permit rules 760 CMR 56.04 and the guidelines, including Part what is that, Noreen?
I believe it's 11.
I-11? Okay. Couldn't tell if that's triple I or
Yeah.
Part I-11 concerning affirmative fair housing market and resident selection. The applicant shall prepare the final draft of a monitoring agreement or MassDOC's affordable housing restriction that includes monitoring, a property management agreement, and submit said draft to the board for approval as to form by town council.
I have a correction there. We're changing EOHLC to Mass Housing. So Mass Housing will issue the final approval for it.
Do we have to put anything about HOA in here?
So the development is going to be rental and owned by
No HOA.
the owner. So, yeah.
B5, the applicant shall obtain and approve street opening permit for work in the public right-of-way, including the construction of the new driveway and sidewalk, grading and abandonment of the existing 2 driveway aprons. B6, the applicant shall file for a stormwater permit and follow the town's soil erosion and sediment control standard conditions as attached in Appendix A. The inspectional engineer shall oversee compliance to include a construction general permit with the EPA. The applicant shall provide a copy of the stormwater permit and the construction general permit to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Prior to occupancy permit, 01, the building address and unit number shall be posted by the applicant in accordance with Section 99-1, affixing of legible numbers required as formally assigned by town engineering with the building permit application and approved by the fire prevention inspector prior to issuance of occupancy permit. 02, a certified as-built plan shall be provided to the building department, copy to ZBA and site inspector for review for conformance to the approved plans prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. The as-built plan shall be an overlay on the site layout plan with the addition of the proposed stormwater management system structures, rim elevations, pipe locations, size and material, and pipe inverts added to serve as the appropriate base plan plus water and sewer lines and components. Any deviations from the approved plan shall be clearly shown in red line over the base plan, which should be faded back for clarity. The as-built shall be certified by both a licensed surveyor and registered engineer that work was performed in conformance with the approved plans and all permits. The site inspector shall confirm compliance with approved plans. 03, final lottery agent, lottery plan, and marketing plan shall be submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals and Housing Coordinator prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
May I come back to something?
Yeah, go for it.
On 02.
Yeah.
Why is it that you require a certification by both a licensed surveyor and a registered engineer. They both can do the same thing. I'm not sure.
No, they don't do the same thing,
No.
that's the
No.
reason.
The engineer gets the height.
So why is it that both? What is the registered engineer doing? I don't want to belabor
The
it, but
engineer does the height and the surveyor does the corners.
And the building locations.
okay. Thank you.
04,
Yeah.
as-built drawings shall be submitted to the water superintendent and include any ties for valves or fittings on the water main with water pressure testing provided. As-built drawings shall be submitted providing sewer information, including swing ties from building corners to any sewer cleanouts, location of manholes, and sewer invert elevations at building and at each manhole. 05, the final certificate of occupancy for the last building shall not be issued until all required site work, including drainage or other improvements, including the impermeable 40 milliliter poly liner around the entire exterior of the detention basin to prohibit water from the basin toward the abutter to the east, are completed as confirmed by the site inspector. The developer shall request the site inspection engineer to issue an email to the Zoning Board of Appeals confirming completion and compliance with all requirements under their oversight. The developer may request that the ZBA consider a bond for the value of any incomplete work to ensure that the work is completed in accordance with plans.
You've got the different
This is
verbiage.
the condition where
Right.
we amended it to install and maintain in perpetuity.
Yep.
Thank you.
The poly line.
Perfect.
Yep.
6.
06, the applicant shall install a tactile strip at the sidewalk terminus with Brick Kiln Road and shall work cooperatively with the Traffic Advisory Committee to install and approve crosswalk to the existing sidewalk on the southerly side of Brick Kiln Road. 07, the applicant shall install some type of bollard at the mail kiosk for pedestrian safety. 08, a landscape designer shall provide written certification that the landscaping has been placed in accordance with the approved plan prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the final unit. 09, any light trespass from the premises onto abutting properties created by the project shall be addressed post-construction prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, as may be necessary to limit or eliminate light trespass. 010, to the extent permitted by law and by the subsidizing agency, EOHLC, preference for the rental of 70% of the affordable units in the initial lottery shall be given to A, persons or families who are Falmouth residents, and/or B, the parents of children in Falmouth schools, and/or C, employees of the town of Falmouth or those employed within the town of Falmouth. The local preference shall be implemented by a lottery agent approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Prior to conducting the lottery agent shall submit a final lottery plan to the Zoning Board of Appeals and Housing Coordinator for its approval. All costs associated with the lottery and monitoring shall be exclusively borne by the applicant.
We're again substituting for EOHLC mass housing.
011, prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall A, submit a final executed copy of the property management agreement to include installation, operation, and maintenance of common facilities to include stormwater management. B, submit a final executed copy of the monitoring services agreement. Report to the monitoring agent shall be provided after initial rental of all units, then annually thereafter to the Zoning Board of Appeals and Housing Coordinator. 012, the applicant shall invite the assessor to view the structures as completed.
May I have a question? Earlier on, the traffic committee recommended a crosswalk. Is that something that we would condition this with, or is it just up to the town to put a crosswalk there? Back in the findings, the traffic
No,
committee.
that's something we would put in here.
Yeah.
Right, so I believe
I think you did
the
have it in
wording is that we have 06 on page 21 at the bottom.
Yeah, I thought I
We've
saw it.
Oh, I see,
directed
yes.
them to work
Yeah.
with traffic advisory to get it approved to install.
Yeah.
I may have taken a timeout, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Everybody all set with that section? Mark, you good down there?
I'm all good.
Okay. So we'll start with waivers.
Waivers, W1, any waiver not requested or voted on by the Zoning Board of Appeals is deemed denied. The board finds that the need for affordable housing outweighs local concerns and votes as follows on waivers requested by the applicant. W2. Section 240-19A of the zoning bylaw allows one single-family home per lot. Waiver is requested from the requirement to allow to build 9 duplex buildings totaling 18 units and 2 multifamily dwellings, one with 12 units and one with 10 units totaling 22 units, total of 40 units on the property. So are we going to?
Well, I would
we need to
move,
say- yeah.
I would move the acceptance or the approval of waiver W2, Section 240-19A of the Falmouth Zoning Bylaw, one single-family home per lot.
I'll second.
We vote on it now?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
W3, Section 240-11.3A of the zoning bylaw limits the maximum lot coverage for structures, paving, and parking to no more than 40%. A waiver is requested from this requirement, allowing up to 44.4% of lot coverage for structures, paving, and parking.
I move the approval of waiver request W3, Section 240-11.3A of the Falmouth Zoning Bylaw, which limits the maximum lot coverage for structures, pavings, and parkings to not more than 40%.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None.
Do you want to vote on W1 since you started voting on W2?
Yeah, we did skip one.
Circling back, Madam Chairman, at W1, any waiver not requested or voting on by the Falmouth Zoning Board of Appeals is deemed denied. The board finds that the need for affordable housing outweighs the local concerns and votes as follows on waivers requested by the applicant.
I move the approval of the statement designated W1 in the waiver section, that any waiver not requested or voted by the Zoning Board of Appeals is deemed denied.
How about with the exception of lot width at 100 feet when it's actually 97?
Can we have some discussion, Madam
We got to
Chairman?
have discussion about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I,
The frontage is also a problem.
the frontage is
All right.
97, but I mean, we can just, with the exception of, would be sufficient.
Well, we don't have to say that until we decide what to do about it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're doing now?
No?
Yeah.
No. We're
Well,
doing
Jim
it
wants to discuss it now.
Oh, you want to discuss
Oh,
it
no, I
now?
wanted to discuss, well, because the statement is anything not requested is denied, so.
No, but also, I think we have,
We have to put it
or
in.
voted, yes, I believe that unless they have a waiver of the frontage, which is 95 feet out of 100 required, so it's very small.
7, I think.
That is essential for this project to go forward, because if they go to the building commissioner and ask for a building permit with 95 feet of frontage, he's going to deny them a building permit.
So can't we just put in here?
Can we?
So I would suggest, my suggestion would be to make a motion that the board grant a waiver of the appropriate section of the zoning bylaw requiring 100 feet.
That was one of the things I wanted to discuss, or to allow the applicant to request a modification.
Right.
The zoning administrator could administratively approve it,
Okay.
or if the board wants to
I'd rather
vote
have
it, then I think that's an even
I
cleaner
think
way
it's
to do it.
fatal to this project
Yeah,
unless they
why
do
don't we
that.
just put it in at the end of this with the exception of a 100-foot lot?
Or do we just want to sua sponte add? the
No, we're
board's
gonna add it.
waiving-
I think he needs to get a waiver. Noreen can just do it.
You want me to just do it administratively?
If
I
requested.
think he needs to have a waiver.
He does.
Yeah, but wouldn't we be able to give it to him? It wouldn't be denied if we said.
He's not asking for it.
It hasn't
He
been
needs
asked,
to
but
ask for
I
it.
also think he'd get it if in an appeal. I don't necessarily think we want to come back with a full hearing on the issue.
No, you could just go through,
No, it's automatically denied. He's not asked for it, but we're saying that he can go get that waived by going administratively to the
Okay.
yeah,
zoning
All right,
administrator.
fine.
that way it's clean.
So for the purpose of the record, Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to empower the zoning administrator to administratively approve an omitted waiver concerning the width, lot frontage width, to allow under 100 feet as stated in the application of 95 and whatever it is.
95.8 or something.
I think it's 97 something.
97 something.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you need a second? Second. All those in favor of Jim's amendment?
Aye.
Aye. I was wondering how we were going to handle that. All right, so we're at Coastal Pond, we're at W4?
W4, Section 247.2, Coastal Pond Overlay District. The site is located in the Great Pond Overlay District. Applicant is asking the board to find the proposed Title V system is adequate and appropriate for the proposed development. The property has less than 5 lots and is less than 5 acres and is located in a stabilization area. Furthermore, the Board of Health will require the review and approval of the Title V system prior to installation. Our design also shown in an area in the design plan for advanced treatment. Should sewer be unavailable in the future, and it becomes mandatory that advanced treatment is unavoidable. To install,
Doesn't this contradict?
it does.
It does, so we're going to deny it.
We'll deny it, yeah.
I'll make a
Install an
motion.
AI system now would be cost prohibitive.
I'll make a motion that we deny the requested waiver designated W4, Section 247.2 of the Falmouth Zoning Bylaw relative to coastal pond overlay districts and Title V septic systems.
I'll second.
All those in favor of denying W4?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none.
W5, Section 240-6.1B specifies allowed uses in the agricultural B zone. The only permissible residential use allowed in the AGB zone is single-family detached homes. Waiver is requested from this requirement to allow construction of 40 units, 9 duplex buildings, and 2 multi-tenanted buildings.
I move that,
No slacking yet, Frank.
I move we grant the waiver designated W5 of Section 246.1B of the Falmouth zoning bylaw, which controls allowed uses in an AGB zoning district.
I'll second.
All those in favor of W5?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none.
W6, Article 23, 240-111E requires the developer to reduce the impact where possible for removal of trees with 4-inch trunk diameters. The site design, including location of buildings, driveways, walkways, and grading, is such that most, if not all, trees except those on property lines will be cleared. Waiver is requested from this requirement, and the landscape plan will provide for new plantings of trees and shrubs.
I don't know about that. When we had that condition about the tree line, I don't know.
I think that I think that's
It did
conflicting.
conflict, because they're required to send us a schematic of their tree line, of what's left. Right?
Where is it in that?
I'm trying to think of where,
Where is
it's in conditions. Must be in the beginning ones, right? I don't know if that,
The condition trumps the waiver.
Page 20, S11, talks about landscaping, then you talk about trees to be protected.
It's just a general statement.
I thought it said that they
Well,
had to
it-
report and show you something.
Yeah, it says trees
Shall
to
be
be...
identified.
Trees to be protected and preserved shall be identified in the field and on a plan copied to zoning board.
Because I really don't want clear cut. The neighbors were very concerned about it. I don't want it. And we've seen it happen in the past where they clear cut right to the line. And
And
it
I
doesn't need
think
to happen
they
here.
also have a good opportunity here because all the buildings are set back at least 20 feet
Right.
from lot lines.
What
So,
number are you on?
Page 20, S11, talks about landscaping, and as you go to the end of that paragraph, it talks about tree protection.
Yeah, the very
So-
last sentence.
So I think where they've had the lot lines staked, it gives them an opportunity to examine which trees are on that lot line and to make sure that those are protected. You know, many of the times you have these buildings that are 10 feet off the lot line and they effectively can't preserve trees.
Yeah.
But here where the buildings are usually, all at least 20 feet off the lot line, you have a better opportunity if there's a tree on.
Number 5 on page 13 addresses it as well.
So I guess the question is, when you vote on waiver 6, maybe you're going to split that, and maybe you're going to allow clear cutting with the exception of the lot lines where they protect mature trees.
Why don't we just refer then, with the exception of the conditions and refer to the paragraph?
With condition, yeah. with condition, whatever that one was that we read on page 20.
And there's one on
The
page 5.
conditions, Trump?
Absolutely.
Developer reduce the impact where possible, removal of trees with 4-inch diameter, site design including location, building, driveways. All trees except those on the property lines will be cleared.
Which one are you reading from, Mark?
Is he reading from
Page
20?
13, number 5, top of the page.
Oh, yeah, so that type there is just
I
a
think
copy
it's
of
20 we
the
want.
applicant's request.
So,
I think it's
through you,
20.
Madam Chairman, those, number 34 and then sub 1 through 5, we skipped over the reading them because they were specifically requested at the end. That's why it's the same language. It just lists, these are the waivers that they were requesting, and we didn't
Right,
read
so
it at the time, we
the-
just moved them on to the end of the
The
hearing.
waivers are essentially appear twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should refer to S11 on that.
S11.
Yeah, so that's fine. So then you would be
Is that one there?
voting that waiver and then
Yeah.
specifying. Okay.
So then,
That- oh. So then we make a motion,
I move that we approve the waiver requested in
Six.
designated W6, Article Roman numeral 23, 240,
111E.
11E, reducing the impact of the removal of trees with the exception of the conditions as set forth in paragraph S11 of this decision.
Second.
All those in favor of that amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You guys good down there?
And I have
Oh, you have a question?
go backwards to that 95.87 or whatever it is in the 100. Just here in G7, where the comprehensive permit is granted specifically under MGL Chapter 40B, Section 2023, allowing the override of local zoning density. There should be no as-of-right changes made of the subject property. Any changes requested shall be properly submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals as provided under Mass MGL 40B. So that kind of says that Noreen can't prove that.
Bring it back to us.
Okay.
So it would have to come back to us, so that how we structured number 1 is,
Okay.
doesn't comply with Mass General Law. I'm not a lawyer, but I get to play one on TV Thursday nights.
My
pay's not that great either.
understanding is out of the CMRs of a 40B that,
And that's all.
I'm going to defer to the board. The board wants to take it
Come
back.
back for an insubstantial change,
Right.
and that's, can be done administratively without a hearing.
Yeah.
And we're only talking less than 5 feet.
Yeah,
I think that's a de minimis.
I would agree.
request.
Yeah.
It's not, well, no, and under the standard of substantial, it's not talking about increase of over 10%. It's none of the, it is insubstantial.
Yeah. Yep. Did we vote on that yet?
No.
No.
You want a motion?
No, I think Frank did the motion,
I
right?
did the motion on W6. We didn't vote.
All those in favor of W6, are you all set down there, Mark, on that motion?
Yeah, I'm still a little cloudy, but yeah, sure, I'm not going to fight about it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. All right.
So then I would move the other findings and conditions, and Jim would do the final wrap-up.
That sounds perfect.
How we're going to do it?
Yep.
Okay. I move we approve and accept the findings of the proposed comprehensive permit designated as paragraphs 1 through
Lots.
34, as amended by the vote of the board at this hearing tonight, which includes paragraph 3, paragraph 6, paragraph 12R.
I had 21 tree removal bullet point.
21 bullet point, you're right, the first bullet point in 21. And then 20, we didn't amend 29 or 30, but,
No.
so that, okay, that's what it was.
Are there any other ones?
No, I think that's all of them. We talked about others, but we didn't amend them.
I just don't remember if Noreen had any. You have any other? We're all set? Okay. We'll vote on that separate?
Yeah,
Findings?
not separately, but I just did a motion to include all findings 1 through 34, except as amended by vote of the board at the hearing tonight. And then I identified the paragraphs that we
Okay.
amended.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of Frank's motion?
What he said. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. All right, conditions.
I move that we approve conditions designated general and being paragraphs G1 through G26 with the amendments approved by this board at the hearing tonight, including paragraph G8 and paragraph G26.
Second.
And did we add? We have to add for the other two-car garage.
That was
again.
G8.
G8, okay.
And is it clear that G26 is option B?
Yes.
Yes. All right, well,
Okay.
I'll amend my motion to suggest that the amendment to G26 was the adoption of option B.
Okay. All right. We're going to vote on them separate?
Nope.
Okay, keep going then.
Oh, no, we got to vote on the category, general.
Yeah. All right, general.
Again.
He made his motion. I'll second it. Did anybody else second it? No. I'll second it.
All right,
All those in favor of the general
all right.
conditions?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none?
I move the exception, I move the approval of the conditions designated prior to site work, being paragraphs S1 through S11,
Yeah.
and I do not find any amendments.
We eliminated the developer shall establish.
S6. There was an-
S6.
Last sentence was
Last
struck.
sentence was eliminated, yeah.
And
Okay.
we added town observed to S1.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Are we catching any other mass housing ones that we have to change to while we're doing this?
Those are in the next group.
Okay, all right. I'll make a motion to accept all prior.
I did.
Oh, you already made it. I'll second. All those in favor to prior to site work?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none.
I move that we approve the conditions designated prior to building permit and being paragraphs B1 through B6 with the amendment approved by the board tonight to paragraph B4.
I'll second. All those in favor of the prior to building permit?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none.
I move that we approve the conditions designated prior to occupancy permit and being paragraphs 01 through 012 with the amendment approved by the board tonight, at the hearing tonight, in paragraph 05. That's where we talked about the
And O10.
polyliner, and 010.
Oh, yeah, the mass housing.
Mass housing, right. Okay.
I'll second that. All those in favor of the prior to occupancy permit? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed.
And then the waivers we have voted already, so we can just
Take it away.
wrap up.
So, Madam Chairman, I will make a motion to grant the comprehensive permit under Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, for the development of 85 Brick Hill Road, Assessors Map 34, Section 05, Parcel 007, Lot 000, Falmouth, Mass. The premises to construct 40 units throughout 9 duplex buildings and 2 multi-unit buildings, 1 building containing 10 units and 1 with 12 units, 10 units of which shall remain affordable in perpetuity as provided herein based on the above stated findings and with the previously voted stated conditions and waivers.
Second.
There you go. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Good job, guys. All right, moving on to our agenda. Everybody ready to move on? Zoning administrator update. So you had the week off, huh?
You've had enough of me. Yeah.
That we have. Board discussions.
We're discussed out.
What's for dinner?
And that the bees still may get in the playoffs. Board updates?
I have one thing, Madam Chairman. I will not be here on March 27th. I will be out of state at a training conference.
Eating
Sure that
good.
one of our alternates is here and ready to go.
4-1 Senators.
Oh, no, sorry I brought it up. Anybody else for any board updates? Future agenda items? Okay, Mark, take it away.
Section?
Here you go. All those in favor? Aye.